Hello everybody, this is Jasmina, and in this video I'm going to talk about the 8 killings formation for houses. So this is a Feng Shui thing, and I haven't done Feng Shui in a little bit, so I want to make clear this is not date selection. This is for your residence. It is a negative formation between your house facing and the direction of the incoming chi. Now, the incoming chi can come from a river, but this is rather rare because most people cannot see a river from their property. This doesn't mean a lake. I mean a river that's actually flowing. That, of course, there's some current in a lake, but it's not like a river where there's real movement in a river, and it's very directional. Whereas in a lake, it's more like a little more swirly. Now, it's rare to have a river, but it's the most common cases where your main door, and this is the one where packages are delivered to, this is the one where visitors ring the bell. If it's in a negative location or faces a negative direction, then this can be the 8 killings. And so this is important to know where your door is and what it faces. Now, it is quite negative and it can lead to misfortune, quite even big misfortune, and serious illness over time, but it does not work really fast. You have to be there for it probably more than 10 years before these negative effects can really be present or really felt. Now, fortunately, there are ways to remove this problem. And some of these aren't terribly cheap, but they're also not terribly onerous. So it's okay. Now, when we talk about incoming chi from a river, it's basically defined in 2 ways. It can be the direction from really the center of your house, but basically more or less in the middle of the wall that faces the river. When you first see the river and that direction, that is the direction of incoming chi. Now, this can be done with a compass if you know how to compensate for the compass's error. And so if you use satellite to find the facing direction of your house and you have a floor plan, you know what direction all the walls are facing. So you measure that first. Your back parallel to the wall, doesn't have to touch it, but close to the wall, parallel, and you point it, away from your body at 90 degrees to the wall. You read it. You know what it should be. It's very unlikely your compass will be right, but you just know what the error is, and then you point it to where you first see the river, and you have to do that correction again, that same correction. So that is whatever was for the facing, that correction will also apply to your first seeing the river direction. Now, the direction of the flow from upstream to downstream at this point where you first see the river is the direction of the river's chi. At least at that point, that's what it is. And these are basically the 2 ways to define it. However, if the river is not very straight and it has a lot of winds to it, if the river turns and faces your residence directly, before it turns again, because I'm assuming it doesn't go under your house, this can also be considered the river's direction. So this is another possibility. And so you could possibly have 3 different directions for a river, but very few people actually can see a river. Now, these directions, especially like if you're looking in the satellite view, you can see your house because the river is going to be pretty close to you if you can see it, usually anyway. If you can see your house and the river, you can see what direction that river is pointing towards you. Now, most satellites, well, not most, certainly Google Maps does, where the up of the image is UTM north. And you really should check, especially if you're close to a dividing line. You should check the UTM to true north correction, which I have a application on my website and the website is right here, fidesign.com. And this, it will do the calculation for you. You just need to know your location, the latitude and longitude. So, but most of the time you can get a pretty good, at least for the river flow, you can do that from the satellite. Now, to cure the egg killings, of course, it depends on the source. The incoming location of a river can be treated by planting evergreen vegetation to block the view until it becomes visible in a different subsector. For every house facing, there's only one subsector you have to worry about. So this is not hard to do. If the river turns towards your residence in a bad incoming direction, you can also block it with evergreen vegetation. So if you can't see it, it can't affect you. And the direction of the flow, if that is the one, at the first point you can see it, if that is is a bad direction and it doesn't have any turns, it's basically a straight river, then it's basically best to block the entire view of the river, which is a bit of a bummer, again with evergreen vegetation. But if the river's not straight, if it does change its direction, even if it doesn't face your property, you can block the view of the river until it is flowing in a direction that isn't in your egg killings direction. So these are all ways to deal with it. And it's basically planting plants where you need to. Of course, this assumes you own your place so that you can plant what you want to plant. If you're renting, it's harder. But hopefully you don't have to rent for over 10 years in one place. Now, the cure for the main door, that's either in an egg killings subsector or the main door faces the egg killings directions, is either to change the door or its direction, to a different subsector. That's all you have to do. It's not super complicated. The main door's location is measured from the center of your residence to the center of the door when the door is in the closed position. This is best measured with a floor plan that is to scale. And usually you can get this from your building department. Whoever, most places you have something that will tell you what is your floor plan. And it's to scale because architects did it. Now the main door direction is measured 90 degrees to the closed door position looking outward. Again, this is best measured with a floor plan. It's the easiest way to do it. And of course, you have to know your facing direction. But you have a north arrow, which is a UTM north, on most of the plans. So that will tell you what direction your house faces also. Now, the moves, if you do have to move your door, let's say that's true, it can change your purple, white, and Cheeman charts. Now, if you only have to change the direction and you don't move it to a different subsector, that doesn't change these charts. They will stay the same. So you should, but if you're going to be moving the door to a new location, then you should investigate what happens to the purple, white, and the Cheeman charts. You might be able to improve your residence by doing this, or you might make it worse. So this is why you really need to look at these. And since you only have to move it one subsector, you should be able to find a good location for the door that won't make your house any worse and may even improve it. Of course, you do have to know what you're doing. Now, the egg killings really is applied more to houses and not to really apartment units. The apartment's main door with respect to its facing direction, that is the facing direction of the entire building, it may create a egg killings arrangement, but that energy is spread over all the units. So it's not so important for a single unit. If you have 100 apartments in the building, then you only get 1% of the negative energy. So I'm not too worried about this in an apartment. It's in general, it's okay. Now, it doesn't hurt to look at your unit and use your balcony door or your largest window, its location and direction. then you might have some sort of 8 killing situation in your unit. And if that's true, I would say it's best to move to a different apartment because the balcony door or its direction, changing it is not likely to be allowed because this is a structural issue. You have structural members above these doors so that the whole building doesn't fall down. So you can't just move things around. In a house, you still have to worry about that, but you don't have to worry about all the floors above you. So it's really, an intensive thing. And most apartments, well, if you're renting, you won't be able to do it. And even if you own it, you usually aren't able to do it because it'll either be outrageously expensive or it just won't happen. It's not structurally good enough to do it. So, so you can check your apartment. That's not a bad idea. But if it's bad, just move. Now, the cure, again, is to move it. Now, satellite images or a site plan can determine your facing direction with the UTM North, and then you do that conversion from my website. This will tell you your true facing direction. And because you know that and you have the floor plan, you also know your main door's direction and the location with confidence. The compass on your phone or an old school compass absolutely cannot be trusted inside the house because there's so much electromagnetic interference in our house, and the needle just measures the direction of the magnetic field, which if you have electricity running through your house and you have something on, then you have an extra magnetic field being added to the Earth's magnetic field. And you also have declination, which means that you're everywhere, even outside, your compass doesn't point to true north. So, and I'm a stickler for this because the way the sun hits the earth has to do with true north, not compass north. Otherwise, your house is changing, can be changing all the time. When our AC comes on or the heat comes on, it changes the direction 3 degrees. And we're talking subsectors. This will put you in a different subsector, which doesn't make any sense because nothing has changed in the house. So this is why I do not use compasses. Now, changing the location of a door tends to be kind of expensive because you usually uh, uh, need a new beam, sometime a larger beam, depending on what's going on, and some new walls. But I would say it's cheaper to deal with planting some evergreen plants. But this, if you really like the house, this is worth it because this will change the energy, hopefully for the better. I mean, it certainly will get rid of the 8 killings, and hopefully it will help your purple, white, and the other thing too, that it will help your Chiman chart and make it better for the whole house. Changing the direction of the door may be easier, but the resulting door may look rather strange unless you're in Asia. In Asia, you see a lot of tilted doors, and so you start getting used to it. But here in the US, if you see a tilted door, well, I would say, okay, I think an Asian family that lives there, or some handyman really screwed up. That would be my opinion. And most people would say, why is that door like that? It does look a little weird. So here is the table. Finally get to here. If your house is facing south, whether it's 1, 2, or 3, we don't care. Its general direction is south. Then you do not want to have a door or see a river or any of those kind of things in southeast 1. Just southeast 1. So there's only one subsector you have to worry about. The southwest, anything facing the southwest. Now our house, the current house we're living in, happens to face southwest. But you have to look for the tiger subsector and see if there's anything there. In our house, we have solid walls there, So we're good. If your house faces west, again, 1, 2, or 3, it doesn't matter. You don't want to have a door, your main door. Other doors can be here, but we're talking your main door. You do not want to have it in southwest 3. For houses facing northwest, you do not want to have a main door in west 2 or see the river in west 2. All this same thing applies. The north facing, you don't want to have a main door with a pig. Southeast facing, you don't want to have it with a rabbit. The east, you don't want to have it facing or be in the snake subsector. And the southeast, you don't want to have your door in the south to the horse subsector. Now, these are all animal signs, as you might have noticed. But you will also note that this one is at 180 degrees and the rest are at 45 degrees. So if your door is in line with your facing wall, then you only have to worry about its location and not its direction, because none of these, this is south, this is southeast, there's none that is at 0 degrees. So that helps you automatically know you have a good house, except you still have to check the location. That is still important. Now, your main door can be in any subsector, but it is fairly rare that the door's direction to be anything other than basically in the same direction as a some facing wall. It might not be your it might not be your main facing, but it'll be in the same direction as a facing of one of your walls, or it'll be at 45 degrees to one of the walls. This is just because it's easier to build this way. There can be other angles, but they tend to be quite rare and tend to be in very expensive houses. So I personally have never lived in any place like this. So I'll give you an example. So this is for an average house. Most of the time you face the road. If you have houses behind you and beside you, you definitely face the road. So I've just said, okay, we have South 1. So if this is the actual reading that you would get with the satellite, or maybe you would do this from your floor plan, that could also work. And you see that the door is tilted in this fashion, and this is now in Southeast 1. So this is not good. That means you've got a problem. Now, you could have, if you're in a subdivision, you could have houses, and this isn't unusual, where they're mirror images of each other if they're the same plan, side by side. This one is okay. This one has the 8 killings. So this is something to look at. Now, our house has an arrangement somewhat like this, but we don't face South 1. So we're okay. Now, rarely do you get this number here to line up with just like to 1 degree. Usually you've got like a point something. It's okay. You do your best to do this either from the satellite or from your floor plan, because your floor plan should have a north arrow and you can transfer that over. Now this is the one that is potentially very easy to get and also a problem. If you happen to be living on a lake or maybe on a golf course or a wide open area, then your house actually faces opposite the road. And this is assuming there's no road in between here and you don't access it. Now, if there's a road and you don't use that to access your house, then it's okay. There could be a road there. But usually this is going to be something nice to look at. And so if it's Southwest 3, and you have the door on the opposite side, which is pretty normal in this situation because the road is here and if somebody comes to visit, they're going to ring this bell. And so The door, in this case, the door is in Northeast 3 and faces Northeast 3. So this is doubly negative. Now, of course, you can move it to one side or the other to get out of Northeast 3, but you're still facing this. So this would require some sort of extra build to get it out of 8 killings. So this is something to be more concerned about, because this one is one that's quite easy to get if you're lucky enough to live on a lake. So this is for a house that happens to be facing West 3, and it's at 288. Doesn't have to be, but this is an example. And then the door's at 45 degrees, so it's going to be at 333. And this is in the monkey subsector, and so this is a problem. And these kind of houses that are built like this do tend to be kind of difficult. Basically, you would either bring the wall into here, and you would still leave it would leave the door opening there. But then you would have your door either open here or open here, and then the problem is solved. You could also go this way and bring it out of your house a little bit too. And of course, you have to have a roof over that part. If you do that, your current roof, if you go inside, will accommodate that kind of naturally. So there can be slightly cheaper ways of doing this, or slightly more expensive. If you go 90 degrees, you will actually have a little more room inside the house. Depends on what your house is arranged, which one is the better one for you. Here's another example of this one is a northwest 2 facing house. You don't want your house to face west 2, which is the rooster. But if you had that over here, you'd be okay because you're facing north 2. North 2 is not a problem. So, this is something you have to look at if your door is either in the back of your house because you face a lake, or if it's at 45 degrees. This is the time you might be worried about it. Now this house is facing north, and we do not want to have it facing northeast 3, and this one is north 3. So this is the pig subsector, and it's again a potential problem. Over here, it would be facing northeast, which would have been fine. So you'd see that actually, since most houses only have 45-degree sectors, it's only the ones that match. Whatever this number is, this is where it can be a problem. Because if your house faces north 2, this will be northwest 2. Not a problem. It's only a problem if it's northwest 3. And again, you do this with the floor plan, not with your compass, because your compass is garbage inside a house. Here is an example of a northeast 2 facing house, and the door in this arrangement will be east 2, and it will be a problem. And so again, you could build out or build in to get rid of the problem. And this one is an east 3 facing house, and its door faces southeast 3, so it has a problem. Okay, so this is the last one. If it's a southeast facing house, you do not want the door to be in south, or face south too. Of course, you don't want it there either. But so this is the arrangement. We have house facing southeast 2, and the door are going to be facing south 2 if it's at 45 degrees. And so again, most of the houses, it's a worry if it's at 45 degrees, or at least a possible problem. And the only one that we worry about at 180 is the southwest 3 facing house. And that tends to be a kind of a special situation where you're on a lake. That's the most likely time you might actually run across something like that. Now, for a door located in a bad location, the only solution is to move the door to a different subsector. And so this definitely tends to be more on the expensive side, because this is it requires a new beam. You have to fill in the old wall, and you have to cut out the new wall, and it isn't minor work. Now, for a door facing a bad direction, again, sometimes you can tilt it within the wall that it sits to a different subsector. But this, you have to be quite close to being in a different subsector to make this work because the door can only tilt so much. And of course, it does tend to look kind of weird unless you're used to seeing it wherever you happen to live. It can be done um, to do this, but really, if it's at a true 45 and it's really hard to get something different, well, then you're going to have a problem. And it'll be some non-trivial amount of money to fix this. It often requires a new beam and some wall modification, which again, usually is not terribly cheap. So if you're not in love with the house, maybe you just move. This isn't, let somebody else deal with it. So if you have already lived there many years, um, then this could be a problem. You could be coming up on the time when it's going to be really bad. But if you have only moved in a few years ago, this is not urgent. This is one of the more slowly acting formations. So you have time to deal with this and time to save up the money to get the job done without it, adding to your debt. So I hope this was useful. I don't know how many houses there are out there like that, but there's almost certainly some. And but again, this is a pretty small subset of the houses out there, so I wouldn't be terribly worried. So I'd like to thank you guys for watching, and I hope this actually does help you.